If you're over 60 and you're flying through a US airport sometime this year, there's something waiting for you that you probably don't know about. Not a hidden fee, not a new rule. The opposite, actually, a set of free services, sitting quietly on the other side of a simple phone call or a 5-word sentence at a counter. And here's the strange part. These services aren't secret. They're not hard to qualify for. In most cases, you already qualify. The only reason most older travelers never use them isn't eligibility, it's silence. Nobody tells you they exist. Not the airline website, not the check-in kiosk, not the gate agent, unless you ask first. So instead, this is what actually happens. Millions of seniors every year drag their own bags across terminals the size of small towns. They stand in security lines built for someone half their age. They rush down jet bridges because no one told them they didn't have to. And some of them pay for things like priority seating, extra baggage help that could have been free with one sentence spoken at the right moment. Today, that changes. We're going through 7 airport services every traveler over 60 should know about, what they are, exactly when to ask, who to ask, and the precise words that get them working for you. Some of these you may have heard whispers of. At least one of them, almost no one over 60 has ever heard of at all. Stick around for that one. Here's a mistake almost everyone makes. They assume mobility assistance is only for people who arrive at the airport already in a wheelchair. It isn't. This service covers far more ground than that phrase suggests. It covers a golf cart ride from one end of a terminal to the other, when the walk between gates would otherwise eat up 20 minutes and leave you breathless. It covers wheelchair service for anyone who simply can't manage a long walk that day, whether or not that's a permanent condition. It covers gate-side assistance getting checked in and through the process without rushing. And it covers help boarding the aircraft itself, someone walking beside you down the jet bridge, making sure you get to your seat without being jostled by the crowd behind you. None of it requires proof of disability. None of it requires a doctor's note. It requires a request. When you book your ticket, or even after you've already booked, right up until the day of your flight, call the airline and say this: "I'd like to request wheelchair assistance for my flight." That single sentence puts a note on your reservation, and from that point forward, someone is expecting you. Now picture the moment right before boarding starts. The gate area fills up. An announcement crackles overhead. And suddenly 40 people are on their feet at once, funneling toward a single door. For an older traveler, that moment is often the most stressful part of the entire trip, worse than security, worse than the flight itself. There's the rush to get in line, the scramble for overhead bin space before it disappears, the standing, sometimes for 10 or 15 minutes, in a crowded jet bridge with nowhere to sit down. Here's what most people don't realize. Many airlines will let passengers who need extra time board ahead of the general group, before the crowd, before the rush, while the aisle is still empty and the bins are still open. It isn't automatic, and it isn't identical from one airline to the next, so it's worth confirming with whichever carrier you're flying. But the option exists far more often than travelers assume. The way to get it is simple. At the gate, tell the agent, "I'd like to pre-board. I need a little extra time getting to my seat." Say it before boarding begins, not once the line has already formed. This is the one most seniors have genuinely never heard of, and it might be the most useful item on this entire list. TSA Cares is a free assistance program run by the Transportation Security Administration, separate from your airline entirely. If you call ahead, the general guidance is at least 72 hours before your flight. A passenger support specialist can be arranged to personally walk you through the security checkpoint from start to finish. That matters more than it might sound like. If you're traveling with medications that need to stay with you, a walker, a cane, a CPAP machine, or any medical equipment that makes standard screening confusing or stressful, this program exists specifically to smooth that process. The specialist can explain each step before it happens, answer questions security officers usually can't stop to answer, and simply be a calm, familiar presence guiding you through a process that otherwise feels like a maze designed by strangers. And if you didn't manage to call ahead, you can still ask for the same help the moment you arrive. Walk up to any TSA officer at the checkpoint and ask for a passenger support specialist. It may take a few extra minutes to arrange, but the option is there. If you travel with a CPAP machine, a walker, a cane, oxygen equipment, or medications, here's something worth knowing. None of it counts against your carry-on or checked baggage allowance. It travels for free, separate from your other bags, without eating into your limit. That means you can bring your CPAP machine on board in its own case, at no charge, in addition to your regular carry-on. The same goes for a folding walker or cane. It can travel with you to the gate and often right into the cabin. And medications, along with the liquids and gels that go with them, are permitted in quantities beyond the usual limit as long as you mention them at the checkpoint. The move here is simple. At check-in, say, "I'm traveling with medical equipment. It doesn't count toward my baggage allowance." Most agents will note it immediately and walk you through the rest. Some airports are simply enormous. Atlanta, Dallas-Fort Worth, Denver, Chicago O'Hare. These are places where a single connection can mean a 15-minute walk between concourses, sometimes longer, if your gate happens to sit at the far end. For a younger traveler, that's an inconvenience. For an older traveler carrying a bag, it can be the difference between making a connection and missing one entirely. This is where airport carts come in. The small, open-air vehicles that shuttle passengers between gates. They're free. They're available at every major US airport, and the drivers are used to stopping for exactly this reason. You don't need to track one down yourself and flag it like a taxi. Ask the gate agent at your arriving flight, or any airline representative near baggage claim or a connecting gate to call one for you. Say, "Could you call a cart for me to get to my next gate?" It's a small sentence that can save you an exhausting sprint through a terminal built for someone 20 years younger. Let's be clear about something first. No one can promise you a free upgrade. That's not what this is, but seats do open up. An aisle seat closer to the front, a bulkhead row with extra legroom, a seat nearer the exit, so the walk off the plane is shorter. These become available more often than most travelers assume, because of empty seats, last-minute cancellations, or simple flexibility on the gate agent's part. The only way to find out is to ask. At the check-in counter or the gate, say, "Is there any chance of an aisle seat or something closer to the front?" It costs nothing to ask, and gate agents hear this request often enough that it rarely feels like an imposition. The last service on this list isn't really one single thing. It's a mindset that ties everything else together. Airports are by design full of people whose entire job is to help travelers move through them. Baggage handlers who can carry your bags from curb to counter. Staff who can escort you personally to a connecting gate instead of just pointing you toward it. Representatives who can help you navigate a terminal you've never set foot in before. The catch is that almost none of it happens automatically. These services exist quietly built into the system, waiting for a passenger to ask. The airport doesn't chase you down to offer help, it responds when you request it. So, from the moment you step out of the car at the curb, know that you can ask for exactly that: help with your bags, an escort to your gate, directions through a connection that has you nervous. All it takes is saying to the first airline or airport employee you see. So the next time you book a flight, don't just pack your bag. Make the call. Ask the question. The airport is already built to help you. All it's waiting for is you to say so.